Hey, what's going on, friends and family? My name is Skylent, and I've been playing a ton of looter shooters, or at least a few of them a ton, so I'm super excited about the upcoming wave that we have for the genre. And if you don't know what a looter shooter is, basically, it's going to be a shooter with RPG elements. It's definitely going to be focusing on the looting mechanics, and bonus points if what you are looting happens to be the guns, or in some way you're looting, you're grinding, gets you new toys to shoot with. Looter shooter, loot and shoot to loot. That's the name of the game, kind of. Well, that's what we've got going on here. Here's my list, guys, of the top 10 best upcoming looter shooters. All right, hopefully you don't mind me lightning bolting through the first 5 because I really want to just elaborate on the final 5. So yeah, here's 5, I guess, that we got. Destiny 3, we know is upcoming, so, you know, as much hype as I can have for that, with Destiny 2 being so middling as it is. Then we also have Borderlands 3, which I'm actually extremely excited for, though a little bit tapered off because of Gearbox and what it's been doing recently, but Borderlands 1 and 2 were kind of gold. Risk of Rain 2 is also going to make my list, though I don't know how definitive of an RPG it is. It's really more of a roguelite, but then again, that whole genre has RPG mechanics always intertwined, kind of, sort of, but it is going to be rogue, so I don't know. It's going to be lots of shooting, third person. It's actually making the leap from 2D, which is pretty cool, but yeah, whatever. Think what you will of that. Then we got Survived By, which is, you know, right now it's a mixed reviews, early access, but for being an MMO and also a top-down shooter, bonus points though, because what you loot in this game are the different wands and swords and things, which can totally change how your bullets actually move. Sometimes they can have really weird additions like ricocheting or boomerang, and just a lot of very strange, fun modifications to the shooting because of the looting. And then we have Deep Rock Galactic, which is a super fun game, though, I mean, as grindy as it is and repetitive-ish as it is, it's not really like you're looting the guns directly, so you're just doing a lot of grinding, and then you get new toys later on eventually, so I don't know how much it actually fits on the list, but it's a game that I've been having a lot of fun with, so I don't know, does it meet a looter shooter? It's up to you guys. Okay, yeah, well, that was the lightning round, but now let's get into the 5 that I really want to chat about. And the first one is going to be Fortnite. That's going to be the Save the World version. Now, Fortnite, obviously we know it as the Battle Royale. It's big and bad and awesome, yeah, sure, and it's ever expanding. But so is Save the World. They haven't given up on it. In fact, I think they're cooking on it a lot longer than they expected already. Even before Battle Royale, it was kind of cooking longer than what they had anticipated. I don't know if you guys know this, but Fortnite was announced like years and years ago. And then finally, I think as a last-ditch Hail Mary, they're like, let's just throw up some Battle Royale mode. Maybe they'll get some attention on the base game. And oh my god, yeah. Anyway, so Fortnite, the base game, is kind of a survivally, grindy game where you level up and you get new loots, new stuff. You fight, you shoot to loot. I don't know, it's not quite RPG exactly, which I think is really more of a defining mechanic to looter shooter, but at the same time, I've already put in a bunch of games that aren't quite RPGs. Hopefully that's acceptable, you know, because we are calling this a whole new genre. But anyways, I do think Fortnite, Save the World, maybe deserves a spot here, so yeah, I shouted it out. Next up, we got The Division 2, and I feel like I repeat myself too often in videos where I mention this, because I don't have much experience with The Division, exactly. Then again, I don't have experience with Fortnite Save the World, but hey, we're just chitter-chatter, and this is about new games, upcoming games. And I don't know, like my hope and anticipation for this is that it brings back a nice even PvEVP. You know, that's the potential that this game has, that it can do, that it can pursue, and I want it to actually do that. I want it to be hardcore competitive, I want it to be serious, more biting, and I definitely want it to be more online than what I've seen and heard of the original Division. It just seems like the Division, what it pooped out as, was kind of half-baked. So maybe now with the sequel, it's gonna be whole-baked. Well, that's all I got. All right, so now the big 3. This is gonna be the big ones, and we're starting out with The Outer Worlds. This was just announced. Obsidian, the guys who made debatably the best Fallout, these guys are basically making Fallout in space, which is funny because, I mean, I kind of think that Bethesda was thinking about doing the same based on the name of a game upcoming. But anyways, The Outer Worlds is kind of like Rick and Morty meets Fallout. Am I mistaken in that? It's kind of like a little bit of a Borderlands kind of humorish kind of feel to it. But basically, from everything that I've seen about the trailer, like, this is Fallout in space and the way it should be done. Of course, we have to actually play the game, but I'm just saying, anticipation and what we've seen from gameplay. And it's so awesome that all the content that they've dished out is like so in-depth. Like they're showing a lot of gameplay, we're seeing a lot of cutscenes, we're seeing like the things that we need to see to be convinced that this is going to be a good game. And I'm not a pre-order kind of guy, but I'm just saying, this is very convincing. The Outer Worlds is looking like a right proper RPG. Now, I'm a little bit worried about the shooting mechanics because Fallout has always been like a iffy, but at least we're on a different engine than what Bethesda's been using, right? So everything is looking pretty clean, pretty smooth, and hopefully the gameplay follows suit. Number 2 on the list, which we've just ran through so far, is Cyberpunk 2077. Oh my god, okay, so I knew this was going to be an RPG. I didn't know how in-depth the RPG was going to be, and then I knew it was going to have shooting mechanics. Wow, I didn't know the shooting was going to be so intense, so ridiculous. So I think a game that merges RPG and shooting mechanics is really the definitive nature of what makes it a looter shooter. But Cyberpunk 2077, like with all these different perks and the ways that you can play, the different ways you can actually pursue through the different quest lines and the different areas and encounters, it's so cool to see weapons where like the bullets can freaking curve around corners, and then we have like so like weird little gadgets and things like spider mechs, and of course the intertwining of the story. Oh man, it's having me scratching my head how in-depth this can be, like how much loot is going to be in this game, how many different kind of weapons, how you know impactful some of these RPG mechanics are going to be. Like it looks like there's a good decent number of options, but how far does the rabbit hole sink? I think that's really the big impact of what makes a looter shooter fun is how repetitive it can be or how deep the rabbit hole is with the loot. So hopefully there's a lot of content to be played here, but from what we've seen, even as shallow as it could be, it's gonna be pretty obscene. It's gonna be pretty good. And finally, I got my number 1 here for a looter shooter, and I'm putting it number 1 despite you know, some other games on this list probably being really good and probably being the best in their respective genres. But I just think Anthem is basically what you're thinking of new upcoming looter shooter. Anthem is essentially taking ideas from Warframe and Destiny, and of course a lot of other trending games, and maybe a number of games that are even on this list, and just packing them all together, and boom, there we go. We got that. It's I think kind of an in-between of the speed overall of Destiny and Warframe, but I think in the end, it's actually taken a lot of inspiration from Monster Hunter, where it's really focused on not quite as an MMO light, which we see from Destiny, and definitely more sincere of an RPG than what we see from Warframe, which is way more focused on the action in the ARPG. I think we're going to see something more like Iron Man meets Monster Hunter. And of course, it's still going to have that sort of MMO light style, or something that is reminiscent of the dynamic events, definitely more the dungeon nature that you might see in MMOs, but it's not going to be an MMO or even an MMO light. It's a cooperative game. You form a party, you jump in, and it's way more, yes, obviously a spectacle, and it's going to have an open world, and there's stuff to actually venture out into with that, but it's going to be way more focused on this sort of smaller and kept, more cooperative for sure, style of gameplay. Now, Warframe does kind of have soft roles-ish, maybe a little bit, and it's kind of a little bit of team composition things you can do. For the most part, it's just willy-nilly as well, kind of with Destiny. The classes are very light with the role aspect, but Anthem seems very specifically hyper-targeting the role aspect, which even in Monster Hunter is something a little bit light. All the dev diaries and the streams, everything is really just kind of like alleviating our fears to an extent. I mean, we still have to see release, but it seems like these developers are very aware of what the looter shooter genre has turned into, as well as the fad of action RPGs and looting games and style games, period. It seems like they know and they play those style of games, and they want us to play this game because they played those games and they're making a new game that's actually a good game. I don't know what to say. Anthem just seems fun because it's got big ass freaking monsters, it's got flying mechs with a role focus on that, so you know, you're gonna feel a little bit of pride and a little bit of agency whenever it comes to certain encounters. You're gonna wanna actually engage that in a particular way, and you're like, yeah, man, I could do this, I got you, bro. You know, that kind of fun cooperation feel that you don't get in too many games unless they are pure co-op. A lot of these online games, you just jump in, jump out, and at the same time, it just kind of feels that light as well. But Anthem seems to have a little bit more depth and a little bit more heavy on the emphasis there with that. So yeah, big monsters with your friends in some cool mechs. I don't know what more you could ask from that. Anthem is looking pretty freaking sexy. I think it's going to be singing my song. But anyways, guys, that's going to be it for my new looter shooters. Just to reiterate the list, I've got Destiny 3, Borderlands 3, Risk of Rain 2, Survive By, and Deep Rock Galactic for the sort of honorable mention-y sort of top 5 there. You know, not much footage that I can show of those. But anyways, then I got Fortnite, The Division 2, The Outer Worlds, Cyberpunk 2077, and Anthem there in my topper bracket there, and with Anthem being the big one. And I'm super excited for The Outer Worlds and Cyberpunk 2077, though more as just full RPGs. But Anthem, I think as a whole, just the, you know, the identity of what looter shooter could be, what it could mean, I think Anthem is going to really hit it out of the park. Of course, EA is publishing it and stuff, and I still got Warframe to grind on. I'm still attempting Destiny. I'm actually replaying Borderlands 2 at the moment, so I'm still trying to absorb, you know, what this idea of looting and shooting is, and the action RPGs as a whole. Hopefully you guys join me over at twitch.tv/Skylent for that. But anyways, couldn't keep my enthusiasm, even for some games that maybe shouldn't have been on this list, but hey, I made it. Looter shooter, what even the fuck does that mean? Let me know in the comments below, and you know, just all I can ask is you guys have fun and keep the hype alive. My name's Skylent, and I'll see you again next time.